Hello again. Base part 1, maybe part 2 would follow after some other things, but initially just getting some base stuff done. This is the one I did online last night. I kind of made it up as I went along in some respects regarding painting it, but one thing we noticed was there was some horrible cracking and separation of my milliput from the base around the edge. I'm not 100% sure why that is. I'm not sure 100% sure what I will do about it, or if I will do anything about it. I suspect I didn't score the base enough to make the milliput stick all the way down to the edge. Scoring the base allows your groundwork, whatever it might be, to adhere, and that's the only thing I can really think. I don't think the figure's going to come cracking off, but yeah. So this is the base I ended up painting. I'm not 100% happy with it, and I might do more bits to it. And so the other base, I have already given it an initial base coat because that's quite boring to watch, and these are different to what I used last night. Mud brown, light earth, ta-da, brown black. So light earth again was used in other bits on this figure, and what I did using an old paintbrush, because the groundwork is rough and will batter your brush quite a lot. I mix some mainly mud brown and mainly light earth and a dab of brown black was, and painted it on and added more and just kept pushing it. I'd run out of paint and have to mix up some more, and it'd be a bit darker, and so you end up with some bits which are dark and some bits which are a little bit lighter, which is groundwork. Adding that random variation can work pretty well. It's also harder to get the brush into some of those zones, so in that area directly underneath him it's a bit darker, which is also cool because that's kind of a shadow area. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a really thin, this time I talk about glazes, this time I am talking about a wash, and it's going to behave a bit like a pin wash in this case. And I'm going to put some again, just let that flood around the hooves and underneath at the base of the grass, creating a kind of darker zone around where the figure is. I often do that on figures, sort of like even though it's not really obvious, the hint of a shadow can be quite effective underneath the figure. And I'm going to stick that in, try and just get the capillary action to run into the base of some of these sandy tufts. And it's quite thin, so just whack it on in places. This has got the same effect with the cracking. Got to go back and look at the video and see. I know I scored it, but I know I didn't score it much. I certainly do it all the time on wooden bases. So I'm doing it around some of that sandy texture or earthy texture I added. And what I like to do is, as that dries, this time I'm going to go and see if I can, here I've mixed some light earth with the mud brown a little bit more, and I'm going to use a different brush, and this is a kind of a flat brush, it's a bit knackered. It's a nice little dry brushy thing, and it's always hard with acrylics to get them to dry brush nicely. I should hopefully just be able to get enough of that to pick up on some of those details. I kind of always like to do it a little bit lighter towards the edge and darker in the middle on a base, just adds a bit more interest. And the likelihood is that I will kind of iterate round and go back and do a wash on top again. Actually, yesterday when I was doing it, I was all using the same brush, so the dry brushing was moist. The brush had a bit of dampness to it, so it wasn't dry brushing very well. This time I'm using a completely different brush, which hasn't got any water in it, so it's behaving more like a good dry brush. And it's dry brushing like I would expect dry brushing to behave. And I can apply that dry brushing to areas that I think might look a bit more interesting. Definitely something going on next. When I talked about part 1 of base painting, part 2 will probably be at the very end, at the point when I decide I'm not going to handle it anymore, or certainly less handling, is just going to add extra scrubbing, it's more scrubbing than it is dry brushing at times, on that little feature there, to make that stand out a little bit and be a feature. I tend to like the look of pigments at the very end, but pigments can always be picked up by your fingers, which is why I like to do it as the very last thing, because it's far less likely to be picked up by me. Now the other thing I kind of want to do, I don't really put stuff in the water, I didn't want to, is with a slightly more paint on the brush, to see if I can get I'm a big believer, I've said it before, in painting everything. Unfortunately, with these tufts, I might have done this in a slightly different order on another day and gone in and airbrushed them or done something, but I'm not going to be able to get rid of the whole artificial nature of the colour, but I can do some dry brushing with the same colour I'm using on the base to at least have a little bit more level of tying in. You're not going to change the colour completely, and you don't want your brush to be too heavily loaded, because you will end up with clumpy looking paint stuck to the end of it. But it does at least, I tend to just do a little, just make sure it's not streaking on my finger that, or my thumb. Just put enough paint on the brush. I think the worst one is that proper greeny tuft in there, which is probably going to be the hardest one to get because I use more than one brand. But hey, that's okay. It's all cool. I've still got that freaky thing inside, which was part of the base, but I'm not too worried about that. Unless you're looking for it, I'm going to add a little bit more of that again. And just make some really dry stuff. And just do it once more over the grassy tufts. You can see how that's a little bit too streaky. It's still too wet. It's still quite wet, but much less. I'm going to do this very gently on my grassy tufts. Because my narrative, as you can see there, I just got a little bit too much on my brush there that got caught. Yeah, the narrative is, it's a dry and dusty plain that he's galloping over because he's a nomadic guy. That area there, I'm not gonna, I think I'm done with the dry brushing for now. Right, now I'm going to go back to my super, maybe thin that down even a little bit more. And those areas there at the front which got a little bit overly hit with the dry brushing light colour. Just going to allow this to flow in a few bits and pieces. Even using it in, rather than just flooding it everywhere, painting layers on it that match those little layers around the back. I've got that dark zone in there as well, which kind of sits nicely with the way that was on the back there. And yeah, I think that's not too bad. It's a little bit different in colour to the other one, but they're similar. Different shapes. But then the final thing I'm going to do in this relatively short video is something that I love doing, is you will see that on applying the paint, that's black. The edge of this all got very messy. I did this last night and that's a lot tidier. There's something very therapeutic and enjoyable about taking some good old pure black and not really thinning it or anything. I should be able to get away with this brush here. And just going round basically crisping up, as it were, the black edge of the base to make it look, every chance I'll have to come back and do a little bit more, retidy it again. 2 or 3 coats is probably better for durability. Yeah, stuff like that. When you get this, and this black from Vallejo, there's a slight satin feel to it when it dries. And it just makes it look closer to being finished, which we are closer to being finished. So that's neatened up and tidied up that base. If it was a gaming figure, you'd be kind of like, oh, maybe do that in the gloss black or something. But it'd look probably quite nice when they get some, what do you call it, pigments on, this sort of similar colour, sandy coloured, dusty pigments. Like I said, I like to do that right at the end when I'm not going to handle them much anymore. So there you go, 17-ish minutes and we're done. You could go backwards and forwards with those washers and dry brushing and washers and dry brushing quite a lot, but it's adding a little bit of variation in the tone across the base rather than being consistent. When you're applying the base colour, you can, while it's still wet, you can put a colour in it and just let it almost wet blend. It doesn't really matter because you want something to look a little bit more irregular. You're not looking for sharpness, anything like that. Okay, thank you for your time and I'll catch you soon. Bye bye.